What's your take on Tennessee making drag shows a felony? Child beauty pageants should be banned. As a Tennessean, I wonder why we aren't dealing with more important issues, like the opioid crisis, the shortage of teachers, old bridges and beat-up roads, gang violence, food insecurity, etc. Oh well, at least now Bill from down the road will have to stop dressing up like Barbara Mandrell and pretending to be a coal miner's daughter. The future of Tennessee has been saved. The KKK is permitted to meet in Tennessee. What the fuck else do you need to know? How they ever got their voters to care so much about this is insane. Beyond the ethical discussion, it's just a massive waste of time and effort. Seriously, who gives a shit? Okay, so my idea of someone in drag is just a man dressing in traditionally women's clothes or vice versa. What's dumb is that the standards for what is men's clothes and women's clothes was made by people. People just generally accepted that this article of clothing was a woman's and that article is a man's. Then, for some dumb reason, it is just weird that people don't accept the generally accepted norm. And that's a felony? It's dumb. It's literally stating, we are setting this arbitrary standard and since you won't conform to my standard I'm sending you to jail. Coming from the pro-freedom, small government types is the epitome of irony. For the party that is always screaming about how the government wants to take over your lives and be up all in your business and how that is the nightmare of everyone. They sure love being the government that takes over your life and is up all in your business. Also, once people stop buying the drag queens and transgendered people are the new monsters under your bed shtick, who is next up on the chopping block? I am waiting for them to go old-fashioned and return to hating Catholics. But in the new version it will be Roman Catholics versus GOP Catholics, with Roman Catholics following what the Pope says and GOP Catholics follow whatever the Republican leaders say, with the GOP Catholics claiming that they are the real Catholics. I am willing to bet that this will become a new thing. For starters, the law's definition of drag is incredibly broad and nonspecific and can apply to damn near anything, like a trans person doing stand-up comedy or something. Secondly, drag is fine and nothing about it is inherently sexual or otherwise explicit. You don't want to see it? Don't go to the show. This is just more moral panic to distract from actual issues at the expense of trans and gender non-conforming people, including Shakespeare. Extremely dangerous political theater. They know it's going to get struck down in court real fast. But it serves a twofold purpose. It makes it clear that LGBTQ+ folks are not welcome there and creates the kind of environment for violent harassment and worse to become tacitly accepted and encouraged. Until the inevitable mass shooting at a gay bar or pride event happens and it's officially condemned as a horrific tragedy. But with a wink wink, nod nod, because they know exactly what they're doing. And it allows them to further the narrative that their rights as a state are being trampled by a woke government judicial hegemony when it does get crushed in court and will spur rage votes and revanchist policy. How is this not a violation of the First Amendment? Does this mean women can't wear pants? I'm so confused. Don't they have better things to worry about? Will this include children in musical theater playing a role that doesn't match their gender? What will they do if a female ballerina dresses as the Rat King in the Nutcracker? Biacly legislating a dress code. That's insane. It's unconstitutional. This is silly. Land of the free, unless you feel like wearing a skirt. Isn't child marriage legal in Tennessee? Sounds like they don't give a shit about kids at all. Needless governmental overreach. And a blatant violation of the First and Fourth Amendments. We have long since forgotten what the founders' intent was when crafting the Constitution. The law is supposed to be the people's way of keeping the government in check. Not the government's way of keeping the people in check. If you hear about a drag show and scoff and say, "I don't want to see that," well, I've got great news for you. They are generally held behind closed doors. That means you don't have to see it if you don't want to. Just like drag shows. I don't want to see your church services. But I respect your right to hold them. And their right to hold theirs. Rather than silence either of you. I just don't go to events that don't appeal to me. I'm glad I don't live in Tennessee. Child marriage is allowed in Tennessee. If they worried about groomers and pedophiles, they would make church camps illegal. To those saying, "It's only just in front of children," Mrs. Doubtfire was a movie for children. So is that film considered drag and now banned? A man dressing up as a woman is a trope in kids' films because it's a humorous aspect in society. Not getting into a debate on that ramification. Are those now banned? Also, what constitutes drag? Shakespeare has women dressing up as men. A lot of plays have cross-dressing that are performed for students. Vaudeville theater antics have been doing it for ages. What if a kid cross-dresses for a performance such as powder puff football or reverse prom? Traditions in the Deep South. Does that kid get slapped with a felony? I am confused on how the First Amendment isn't violated as such. Drag shows for adults are wildly different than drag shows for kids. Honestly, the drag shows for adults have been held in bars and clubs where kids aren't even allowed in. And none of the kid-friendly drag shows have been worse than a Kids Bop album.